Hello guys, it's LazyBeast here, and today I want to talk main choice for the War Within. It's definitely around that time where people are observing all the class changes, the hero talents, and what's actually going to be new in the expansion, and trying to decide what class they are going to main. Maybe this is you, maybe you've got beta access and you've been testing things out on there, or maybe you've just been keeping up to date with all the news around the changes. So today I wanted to share with you my thoughts on the situation and what I want to main in the War Within, and the reasons why I have indeed decided to ditch the Druid. So, why would I not want to play Druid in the War Within? The class that can play every role, be that tank, healer, melee or range DPS, is probably the most efficient class in the game when it comes to getting stuff done out in the open world, which is something I do tend to do. Druids have the access to the instant cast flight form, which of course is now skyride enabled with the expansion. Well, that should be in the pre-patch. So, it's incredibly efficient, which is something that I do always take into consideration when I come to choosing what class to play, because I simply hate wasting time. As the goblins would say, time is money, friend. Druid is the class that I've mained for many years now. After being an altaholic ever since vanilla, I finally settled on the Druid years ago, sometime before the start of Shadowlands, but now I feel like it's time for a change once again. So, what's the problem with Druid, you might be asking? Well, to be completely honest with you, there isn't a fundamental problem with Druid that makes me not want to play it, though. In fact, something has improved, but not with the Druid. With my mindset about what I enjoy in this game and how I want to actually experience it. Sometimes you just need to sit back and have a bit of a reflection, don't you, and whether that's through just your own thoughts or discussing with your friends and people that know what you like. And the main thing I wanted to dig into was, am I actually having fun playing on the Druid? Now, for the most part, yes, but was I putting efficiency and being speedy and being useful over having fun? And I feel like I was. The one problem I've always had with Druid, and anyone else that plays a Druid will probably understand this as well, is the issue of convenience. Convenience tied with efficiency is brilliant, right? Druids are really good at getting things done in the open world, zipping around dungeons, whether you're transmog farming or doing keys, and one of the specs is almost always viable in all types of content. And the specs generally are quite good. I've typically always favoured balance, done a bit of healing on restore. I've done some feral, even despite all of its problems over the years, and its bad reputation. I've done quite a bit of tanking as well because, again, the issue, it's convenient. Why would I want to sit in a dungeon queue as a DPS, trying to get groups being declined left, right and centre, when I could just tank it and get straight into a key? And that's a trap I fall into quite a lot as somebody with fairly limited time. That's unfortunately had to take priority. I spec tank and do the key now, but don't quite enjoy myself as much. Or I spec DPS and sit and wait around and potentially don't get the key done. It's a pretty simple choice. I like getting things done. But I feel like it shouldn't be that way, and that's just one of the problems I'm having with the Druid. And you could absolutely say that about other specs as well, of course. I'm not as naive to think that isn't the case for other classes that can do multiple roles, whether that be tanking, healing or DPS. I think one thing that anybody would agree with who has played a Druid in some capacity over the years is that other classes just simply feel bad once you've played a Druid. You know, not being able to instant cast flight form or make use of stealth even as a non-feral Druid to sneak past the annoying quest mobs that you don't want to fight or to avoid some sort of tricky world PvP scenario. For a bit of a while now I've been trying to play other classes, but for example when I play a class that's not as mobile, be that for example a Paladin or a Death Knight, I just find myself feeling like I'm playing in glue and I don't really enjoy it, and other people are out there having fun flying through the dungeon and I'm there relying on things like nitro boosts from an engineering belt to get a bit of a speed boost, whereas Druids are just flying past me. So it's one of those things where it's tempting to see that the grass is greener on the other side. But is it though? So after the reflection on was I actually having fun on the Druid and really digging into that, I also had a bit of an evolution in terms of being able to accept the flaws. I know I'm making this sound dramatic, aren't I? Let's just roll with it. I had an evolution. I evolved in terms of my way of thinking. Now, as I just said, the grass is not always greener on the other side, but that is a trap you can fall into as an altaholic. Every single class, and this is important to know, and to just realise if you're anything like me, every single class has a downside. There isn't a single class out there, or spec, that is just all good, 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 good. So before I realised this, way before, the issue I would have was, oh my goodness, look at that shaman. It can drop totems and they do really cool things. Let's go and play a shaman. Ah, but I'm quite squishy as an enhancement shaman, so A paladin looks more sturdy than a shaman, so play a paladin. They've got bubbles and they can heal. So we'll go and play Ret, and then I find I'm getting tanked on. So then I cast 3 flash of lights, and now I'm and now I can't heal. Wait, what? I thought these guys were sturdy. And then they're kind of slow as well. You know, I use my divine steed charges, and then I'm just chugging around again at 0 miles per hour. So, Oh, Warlock looks nice. They can summon demons. So go and play a Warlock and do that for a bit. And the cycle continued. There was always this thing of seeing everyone's positives as a class and a spec, and just ignoring the fact that they also had negatives too. So I have literally played every single class and spec in this game in some capacity at some point to try them all. But what I wish I'd done, and I'm not saying that I didn't have fun over the years doing that, but what I've realised now, you know, when time is more limited, you know, I've got a job, I've got children, I've got things to do in life. I can't be spending all my time, all my free time, just playing different classes and never settling on one to stick with. So it's simply a case of realising what the flaws are of your spec and class and just accepting it, because you know what? There's strengths that you will have that other classes don't have, and that's fine. That's absolutely fine. So I realised things like I should not choose to play a Druid just because it's the fastest at completing things in the open world, because it saves me 2 minutes and 34 seconds compared to someone doing it on any slower class, you know, which is them all. Just saying. So, up until probably 3 weeks ago, I was still maining Druid with the War Within. It was a clear winner. There was no question that I was going to play any different characters. Druid was the main. So I got into the beta, leveled up the Druid to level 80, was doing some dungeons and things on it, and then I thought, what am I actually going to do when the expansion comes out? Am I going to go balance and just do DPS again? Am I going to tank? Because I was kind of a fan initially of the hero talents for Guardian Druid, and fairly the specs as well, they seemed fine. But then when I really got stuck into it and tried different things, I realised the hero talents for the Druid were kind of bland. Yep, they kind of accented and played upon the ways the specs are currently and leaned into more, you know, deeper playstyles. For example, the Feral Druid bleeds, that's lent into by the Wildstalker hero talents. And I was also quite a fan of the Druid of a Claw version with Guardian. However, very quickly realised, as well after reading some feedback, that they were pretty stale. There's nothing actually that exciting about them, particularly when you compare this to other specs and classes. For example, the Warlock Diabolist hero talents for things like Demonology, or then you've got the Hunters with the Sentinel hero talents for Marksmanship and Survival. So these ones are pretty nice. Don't know if you've seen any of those, but compared to the Druids are kind of boring. One thing as well that shouldn't be that big of a deal, but it just kind of feels bad initially, is they took away the extra 5 yards range on the abilities of pretty much every melee. So this used to be a talent for Druids, but it no longer is. So you are just in the base melee range, which is fine, that's how the game used to be, but Druids have had this for a very long time, so losing that from our toolkit is kind of a bit of a sting. So if your class is feeling a little bit bad and a little bit boring, it's not something you should be considering to main, is it? And that's the conclusion that I came to, really, with the other things I've mentioned. So I went to see what else I'd fancy playing. But before I get into that, I want to know what you guys are doing. So what are your thoughts on this? Have you had a character that you've stuck with since the beginning of time? Are you really, really loyal to your class and spec? Or are you changing up mains in the War Within as well? And if so, what is your reason why? Why are you doing that? So do let me know in the comments and we can have a bit of a discussion about that. I like to see other people's thought processes and what people prioritise and what they enjoy in the game, so do let me know in the comments. As for myself, I have indeed settled on a brand new main, and the reason why I've done this is I've prioritised fun. Now fun is of course subjective, we all have different ideas of what is fun, and again, that's fine, we're all absolutely entitled to do that. But for me, I love things like going into AoE and popping off, seeing all the numbers go flying up, being competitive on the DPS charts. I also like being quite sturdy as well and not being a big squishy mess, so that's one thing I also considered. And I do, even though I said about the Druid, think that sometimes I do feel forced to play other roles like healer or tank when I want to do DPS. It is nice to always have the option of being a tank or a healer as well, depending on whatever class you pick, so that was something I considered too. So what class did I actually choose? Well, you'll find out in the next video. Thanks for watching guys, I've been LazyBeast and I'll catch you next time. Do let me know in the comments what you plan to main for the War Within. I appreciate your time if you watch this video, and I'll catch you in the next one. Cheers.